thank you all again for being here tonight. I'm your moderator, Don Schweitzer of Western Pacific University. I won't go through all the steps. We are going to do the raffle ticket calling just a little bit. I'll call out a number, and then and that's how we'll do it. Seems like that might work a little better. But again, I want to thank you all for being here. And let's get started now. We're looking at candidates for Senate District 15. And actually, right before I get started, I also wanted to introduce two candidates running for House District 31, who I believe are here tonight. Rebecca Schallinger and Tom Forrest. Please raise your hands. Yeah, make sure to check your districts if you live in Forest Grove, because you may be in their district in 31. So, but tonight, now we're going with Senate District 15, and our two candidates are Myrna Muñoz and Janeen Sollman. And I will start off with that first question again. Go ahead and take some time to introduce yourselves, and then why do you believe you're the best candidate for this office? And we'll start with Myrna first.
Great, thank you so much, sir. My name is Myrna Muñoz, and I'm running for Senate here in District 15 with three big main priorities. One, I'm really worried about our civil rights. I think we should abolish ICE, and I think LGBTQIA+ populations deserve as many safeties as the rest of us. I think the sitting senator in this seat should be fighting for those things actively. Number two, I'm worried about the kind of education that the children are receiving. I believe in a quality education, and as an educator of 25 years, I'm seeing a lot of space for growth there, and I'm ready to jump in and help make some solutions. And one big thing I think that could happen is that corporations could help us by paying their fair share rather than getting tax cuts. And number three, I'm really worried about the cliff coming for our elders and our disabled with health care. I believe in health care for all, and I will fight at the legislature to make it happen.
Thank you. Janeen?
Thank you so much. Thanks to Indivisible for being here, for inviting us here today. And Myrna and I did not call each other and say, wear pink. This is a trouble. So I'm Janeen Sollman. I'm proudly representing Senate District 15, and that includes areas of Forest Grove, Cornelius, Hillsborough, and Rock Creek area of Western Washington County. I grew up right here in Gales Creek. I graduated from Forest Grove High School, and my husband and I raised our two boys right in Hillsborough with working class jobs, just like the majority of you. In a time where democracy needs defending from the Trump administration, Oregon needs lawmakers who cannot be bullied or intimidated. I've stood up to Trump's immigration raids, protected Oregonians' personal information from ICE, and required agents to be identifiable and accountable. I helped pass landmark legislation in the Student Success Act, a historic increase to funding for schools. I protected reproductive rights, strengthened Oregon's environmental laws, and continue to demand accountability from our state agencies. My next term priorities will include continuing to strengthen protections for our communities from the Trump administration's overreach by defending our democracy and upholding Oregon's strong reproductive rights, marriage equality, vote-by-mail policies, and environmental standards, updating school funding formula to ensure that every dollar is allocated equitably and reflects the true cost of educating all students in every corner of our state, and expand access to good-paying jobs and ensure economic growth that benefits working families. We are experiencing an economic and humanitarian crisis. Working families are watching costs rise while Trump hands tax breaks to billionaires. Families are watching their neighbors get swept up in immigration raids. Women are watching their health care rights get stripped away. I'm the candidate with a proven record of delivering results for the community on defending Oregon from federal overreach, protecting reproductive rights, and fighting climate change and much more. The work is urgent, the stakes are real, and I'm ready to continue to serve our community. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, 1625782. 1625782. There we go.
Hello. I have been a substitute these schools are actually not being supported. I mean, it's happening across our state. For example, Portland, they're dealing with budget cuts and potentially closing down schools. The Beaverton School District, McKay Elementary is closing down. And now, got an email saying in the Forest Grove School District, the maximum they're going to be letting go of licensed staff is about 27. And that is really discouraging for people like me who want to be a teacher if we're not even supporting our teachers here. So my question is, how are you going to make sure our school district is supported? Thank you.
Thank you. Start with Janeen.
Thank you so much for the question. So I am a former school board member, 8 years in Hillsborough. I'm a mom of 2 educators and a Mima to 3 grandkids, and I'm a product of public education. I serve as the co-chair of Ways and Means for Education. I also serve on the Education Committee in the Senate. And I will tell you that and again, I'm very proud of my Student Success Act, getting involved in that, providing record funding for schools, public education, and very specifically too, for behavioral health and mental health for our students, which we heard across the state was incredibly important. And also the fact that we have a funding model that is flawed. The quality education model is something that is 30-some years old. And it is the definition of insanity, somebody said. You keep doing the same thing, you're expecting different results. The funding mechanism is flawed in that it doesn't look at the different schools across our state. They take 3 prototypes and they say, this is what a quality education will cost, and they say, the goal is graduation rate. It doesn't tell you where 3rd grade readers are. It doesn't tell you any of those things. It doesn't tell you the ratio of students. So we know that we need to look at Senate Bill 1555, was going to allow us to provide a partisan rate, our nonpartisan LPRO, to go out and find a national practice organization that looks at best practices and goes out across the state, talks to educators from Bend to Burns to Beaverton, Hermiston to Hillsborough. And guess what? They were going to come back with funding that was going to probably indicate that we needed to invest more, but it may not look equitable. It may not look like the peanut butter gets spread through all 197 school districts. It may look like we need to make sure that we're investing more heavily in poverty-ridden school, students that are really impacted by poverty, hunger, and such. So the quality education model does not mean quality.
Thank you. Myrna?
Yes, thank you. While I agree with Janeen that she's been working hard at the legislature, I disagree with her about the things that she's been working on. This SB 1555 had no teachers at the table to help make decisions. No matter how badly you think education is going, when you leave the main people doing the work out of making the decisions, you are making a huge mistake. Her colleague Ricky said that OEA was invited to the table, and OEA had to come running down to say, no, we weren't. So this idea of SB 1555, fixing it all, is so flawed that thing crumbled and burned within a couple of weeks. I need us to understand that while the people in the legislature are our leadership, they must come to us in the community and listen to our lived experience and our expertise before making decisions. I would pose that that's what democracy is. Democracy is us helping make the decisions when we cast our vote, not the person in the seat making all the decisions and shoving them down our throat. I think that's why I'm endorsed by the teachers in the state, because teachers need a seat at the table when we're talking about transforming the educational system. I also want to say that when the legislature, chaired by the senator, ordered a second QEM, spending more money on that QEM did tell them their system was outdated. It also told them they were allotting 30% less to schools, that schools needed to be able to provide the quality education model outcomes. I think it's essential that we take responsibility for what we're doing and we don't blame the schools, as schools across our state close and shut down teacher jobs, some of the best jobs in the state.
Thank you.
Can I react just with
I'll keep track of time, so you get one.
Okay. I just want to mention that one of the things that I said from the dais when we were working on Senate Bill 1555 was that when OEA and some of the COSA, who represents the superintendents, and OSBA, who represents the school boards, when they came forward and they were like, we don't want this, I was like, wait a minute, I don't understand. Your educators will actually get more of a voice in this than they actually have now. Because currently it's 7 members on a commission that goes out and they look at 3 prototype schools and they determine what the dollar amount was. And by the way, the report left out about $2 billion from the Student Success Act. So when that money was added in, it did meet the quality education dollar amount that it went above that. But we still didn't have a quality education. So the Senate Bill 55 was a study. It wasn't action. It was a study to go out, talk to Burns, talk to Beaverton, talk to Hillsborough, talk to Hermiston, find out what are the cost drivers. What is your high cost disability? What's driving the cost within your district? And then coming back, providing that information for legislators to then look at what we needed for a budget. Because right now what we have is not working.
All right, thank you. We'll keep track of that time that you can use whenever you want to.
Let me just say one thing. When I don't understand what a group of people are thinking, I go and I talk to them. That's what I promise you.
All right, thank you. So the next 162-5784. 5784.
So, in the previous discussion, there was a question about sales tax. Sales tax is a regressive tax. In other words, it disproportionately affects lower income families and individuals. If you support the idea of a sales tax, why do you not want to put that burden on the corporations instead of those who can least afford it?
So, Myrna, it's your turn.
Thank you for that question. I actually am taking no corporate money. I'm taking no PGE money. I'm taking no Northwest Natural money. I'm taking no big oil money and no police money. And the reason why I'm doing those things is because I don't believe taking money from them makes me beholden to the right people. I think corporations and the rich should be paying their fair share, just like the rest of us do, in order to move our society forward. That's what that tax structure is there to do. I think the moratorium on those incentives for all of these people should be permanently gone.
Thank you. First and foremost, I think what I'll just reiterate something that was said last time is that about the balance, right? And so we know that when our unemployment rate is one of the highest in the nation, our manufacturing unemployment is even higher, we know that jobs are incredibly important to Oregonians. And we base a good portion of our economy on people working, on that income tax. So when we put such a heavy weight on that, and your unemployment goes down, that's less money for schools, that's less money for your for affordable housing, it's less money for public safety, and so on and so on. So when we're talking about revenue reform, we have to make sure that it is that balanced approach, that we're taking a comprehensive look, that we're looking about everything. It's not just talking about a sales tax, it's talking about how do we reduce our income tax then? Because there's a real trust issue. The trust issue when people say no sales tax is because people are worried that you're just gonna add a sales tax and leave everything else high, right? So there has to be that balance. You have to look at how you're lowering your income tax. You also have to look at an example that was given to me by an Astoria representative who said, when he looked at like 40,000 people coming in to Astoria where he represents, 37,000 of them turn around and leave. They leave. Only 3,000 of them stay, right? And that 3,000, then you get a little transient lodging tax and that goes out to the state. But 37,000 people they just are doing their shopping tax-free and then they're heading back to Washington. Where is our busiest, some of our shops that people come and frequent Oregon for? A lot of that is right along the Idaho border, right? And so we need to make sure that we're looking at a comprehensive look because of that fairness and because that balance is so important.
Thank you.
Yeah, can I just say, I think that we do need tech, but I think we also need small businesses with avenues to thrive. We also need farms that can focus on growing food instead of having to fight their leaders. We need educators with sustainable jobs. I'm in shock that we're right now talking about how this brings balance when McKay School in Beaverton is closing and 27 licensed positions are leaving our schools. So I'm wanting to know what this balance is. I think the balance should be having a people-first economy, having a worker-first economy, and not a corporate-sponsored economy.
Thank you. All right, 162-5808. 5808. Going once, going twice. 162-5785. 5785. There we go.
Hi there, Jacob. Lots of talk tonight about data centers and potential sales tax. I think a more forthright target is data centers themselves. A single data center campus in Hillsborough has a real market value of $2.4 billion, has a tax assessed value of just $36 million, and it paid only $600,000 last year. In comparison, the Empire State Building, worth about half the amount, paid $50 million. We could rework our property tax system based on Measure 50 and carve out data centers and snap their assessed value to 90 or 70 or 50% of their market value, because they're currently paying less than one, some of them. What do you feel about that? Reworking the property tax system or specifically carving it out for data centers? We could be seeing hundreds of millions in state revenue.
Good. It's your Janeen.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate the question, and I just want to say that it's just really been very interesting to see such a hot topic of discussion, not just in Oregon. We're seeing this across the United States around the expansion of data centers. And when I saw this specific data center issue coming to Oregon as an emerging issue, I partnered with Representative Pam Marsh on the Power Act. The Power Act was making sure that our Public Utility Commission can charge our data centers at a higher rate of energy use. They also have to pay for 10 years of infrastructure out on what they will need for their use. And this actual legislation is a model for other states. And why I say that is because that's how a lot of times the states bring issues to law, is they look at what other states have done. So I know that the governor has a bill right now, or has a group right now, that is looking at potential legislative action regarding data center usage, regarding the taxation, regarding land use, all of those things. And I want to just mention that if you're not aware of this, please reach out to my office because I can connect you. There's ways for you to give public testimony on that. Jacob, you probably, I think I sent that to you.
Friday.
Yep. So, see? And so it's important that you have your voice be heard in this situation as well. And so I just want to say that my record speaks for itself about making sure that, I actually am on record for protections that are stronger than just a moratorium. A moratorium was a pause, and I called for a sunset, which would have ended the tax breaks immediately. I voted no on the governor's bill. I heard from many of you, and that's why I took that vote to the floor. And I am on the record for removing tax breaks for data centers. That was completely removed from legislation. And I'm on the record for passing legislation forcing data centers to pay their fair share of their energy costs, as I mentioned.
Thank you.
An interesting perspective. I hope people do go look up her record. It took over 900 testimonies to stop what the senator was doing. She proposed $150 million in tax abatements on the bill she chief sponsored. I want to say that Kipperlin Sinclair and Blaine Soleimani and myself have put out a petition for a moratorium until we study and investigate what these things are doing in the community. Because let me tell you what I found out so much. So since this has started, okay? So there is reporting from December 2025 that nitrate pollution is being made worse as a result of data center water use and has resulted in increases in cancers, miscarriages, and muscle disorders here in Oregon. Data centers also use electrical components and refrigerants that release toxic and greenhouse warming gases. We need to study this before we let it just be amongst us. Yes, the ones that are here ought to be paying their fair share, but we ought to be really careful what we allow into our community. I know the senator likes to say that Idaho and other states are beating us to it and getting this business away from us. And you know what I say? Why don't they care about their people? Why don't they care about their land? That's what I say. My promise to you is that you will hear from me the next time that any shenanigans about these things come up again, because I understand a few people are benefiting and they don't seem to care what's happening to the rest of us. So count on me to come back and organize the next time that this happens in our community.
Thank you. All right, I want to make sure I keep fair, so I can kind of track in an extra minute. But yeah, so I'm just saying.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the extra time. So just to be really crystal clear, the bill that was referenced had no standalone data centers, no corporate activity, no commercial activity, commercial warehouse, and no retail warehouse. And it also had no tax breaks in there whatsoever for data centers, none. And it was 36 sponsors, 36 bipartisan senators, representatives, Republicans, House members that are seeing the writing on the wall with our economy. And the writing is that Oregon is one of the highest unemployment rates. And so we came together, 36, that's 1/3 of the legislature, to come forward and bring this bill. And so that's why including your sister was on that bill. And so I think that that's really important to be able to mention that was a response to economy situation. And I heard loud and clear from folks, that bill did not move forward. And I made sure that every single person that registered to come and testify, I asked the chair to keep those hearings open. They heard from every single person that signed up to testify.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, thank you so much. It is my sister's birthday today, so happy birthday, Leslie, where you are doing your good work with your community. But I do want to say, Leslie did sign up to this when it was an LC, and it was labeled the Oregon Jobs Act. It said it was an economic development bill that would bring our community jobs, and Leslie wanted to help our community. As soon as people started reaching out to Leslie, telling her about these AI factories, she immediately pulled. What happened is the process for pulling took 2 weeks. I do think that's sus.
Thank you. All right, next question, 1625800. Double zeros.
Same question as I asked the representative candidates, and that is, we often hear the term or the phrase "follow the money." So, do any of your families benefit directly from the presence of our data centers financially, and also have you taken any contributions from our data centers?
And you work with Myrna.
I start? Okay. So I am taking no contributions from data centers. Now, my husband does work for a consultancy called Curry & Brown, and they do pricing of all sorts of construction. It includes data centers. So yes, when all you bring into this area is those types of jobs, like everybody is forced to be in it. I know our dear friends over at the farmstead, the ones that are surrounded by that industrial sanctuary that they're stuck in. wish they didn't have to make a parking lot out of their farmstead to let those people park, but they're now stuck in a 12.9% mortgage because they've been made an example of. So one of the things I hope to do for our community is make sure we have a diversified economy so that people can have their own business. People can do farming, people can do tech, people can come into teaching and not just be sold to the one thing that the senator in the district sees and understands.
Thank you so much. So this has actually come up. This has come up from folks in different circles. Folks have said either whether it's about the specific legislation that I brought forward, saying that I am profiting off this, I must own land in North Hillsborough, I do own land, that's what they've said, and so on and so forth. So it's a bit of a whack-a-mole to continue to do this. I do not have any direct interest, conflict, as we call it, oh my gosh, why did I just, it's a conflict of interest, right? So that we have to state that when we are voting on a bill, we have to say whether we're going to financially benefit from more data centers. And I do not have any of that. I sign my statement of economic interest, which every member has to do, every candidate has to do. They have to say who's, like in my direct family, what my husband does for a living. It's all public knowledge. I am curious now about this Curie and Brown, if they build data centers, and do they build data centers in Washington County? That's super interesting, I just learned that. So I'm curious about that, but no, I do not personally benefit from data centers in a financial.
So one small data center uses enough energy to power 800 to 4,000 homes. Janeen is getting electric money. Electric companies stand to benefit from these decisions.
All right, next question, 162-5783. 5783. Come on in. Price is
Hi, my name's Sandy. I've heard a lot of talk about how we need more jobs, we need more housing, we need more money. What I would like to know what your thoughts are on moving from an ever accelerating economy to a cyclical economy.
Thank you. I think we're back. I've lost track of the rebuttals,
Yeah.
so I think it's Janeen. I think
it's me. So I will tell you that is absolutely, it is absolute fact that we are experiencing a high job loss here in Oregon. We are also experiencing in our manufacturing as well with a high unemployment rate. And I feel that when we're talking about, whether we're talking about revenue reform, that really to me is not about necessarily the more money, but also that fairness aspect, right? What we're looking at and how our tax system can be more efficient and more effective. That's what I think about when I look at revenue reform. But I think it also has to be paired with that level of accountability. The accountability that I pushed for regarding an education. You know, how shared economy, Senate Bill 141 was about making sure that our schools, that we held our Office of Oregon Department of Education, we held them accountable for the leadership that they provide to our 197 school districts. But we also make sure that our school districts are feeling and are accountable for the dollars that they're presenting and utilizing in our schools. So when I think about our economy, I want to make sure that we're really talking about the full picture, that it's not just this that you address, and then this is going to be fine. It is a comprehensive look. I'm very proud of Senator Anthony Broadman. He is our Senate Finance Chair, and I'm proud of Nancy Nathanson as well. They're really ready. They're already talking and engaging about this revenue reform because the system that we have is broken and the system is not able to fund things at the levels that we need. We also need to make sure that the dollars that we do have here in Oregon and invested are spent wisely. And holding those agencies accountable as well is important.
Thank you.
I think in order to have a cyclical economy, we must be really good listeners. We have to come back to the community and see what's happening in the community such that the next cycle helps us fix whatever's not going right. It's one of the reasons why I decided to run, because right now we have an economy that's focused on one sector of the business in this section of the world. The economic development plan in place hasn't lifted many people, nor has it brought the types of jobs that are described. And in fact, the investment in Intel ended up laying off 3,100 people just recently. So we really need to get to know what's happening on the ground. And then if we're gonna create incentives, they have to be for what we're seeing is needed, right? Like, one of the criticisms I hear about those farmlands is they're not used very well. So why don't we create incentives for them to be used? Because after all, we're gonna need food forever, right? And what about the small businesses? It feels like trickle-down economics to think you're just gonna serve the one group and then everybody else is gonna benefit. I completely disagree with that. I think we need to, in order to be cyclical, we need to be closely connected to community and be in the know about what's going on and what step we need to take next.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. I first want to just mention that in Washington County, we have upwards of about 97% of business in Washington County is small business. That's 100 employers and less. And why I say that is it's incredibly important that we look at the full picture and we look at, people talk a lot about the corporations and they talk a lot about that. But what we need to understand is some of those large anchor companies, such as Intel, they have direct impacts with a supply chain that is within the state of Oregon that actually benefits a lot of people in jobs and work in small businesses. I met one that had 13 employees and they were looking to expand to 30. And they don't directly work with Intel, but they work with another company who works with Intel. I think that they were talking before about the ecosystem and the cluster and how important that density is. And when you look at those results and you look at, I see former city council, I see the mayor here, when you talk about those investments and what has come to Hillsborough, you're talking about being able to build things like the Hidden Creek Community Center without going back and asking taxpayers to pay for that. You're talking about your South Hillsborough's, I think it's Company 9 or 5, and 9, thank you. Building that without going back to taxpayers and asking them to pay for it. So understanding this full system that you're looking at state, you're looking at the county, you're looking at city, but understanding when the jobs are real and the jobs are there, that helps fund things that you all don't have to pick up the tab for. Because in a lot of other towns and cities, they have to pay that through levies and bonds and such.
Thank you. Do you want to respond?
Yeah, I just want to say, but then on the other hand, we're talking about a sales tax because we can't afford health care, public education, while these folks get tax abatements. I mean, thank you, how generous, thank you for the park, and we still need you to do your fair share here in the community, just like all of us do.
Thank you. Next question, 162-5791. 5791. 5791. Going once, going twice. 162-5810.
I'm going to ask the same question that I asked earlier, and that is, in light of Montana's bill to prohibit corporations from giving money to candidates, would you support such a bill in Oregon? It takes, because Oregon and the other states define what corporations are, they can, we have the power to do this, in spite of what Citizens United decision was about. Would that be something that you would be willing to do?
Thank you. Janeen, I think you're first up this one.
I think,
Well, we're doing the rebuttal thing. Well, okay.
yeah.
I don't mind going first because this is a strong value in me. I don't think corporations have any business funding any campaigns. I don't think they're voters, and I don't think anybody should be beholden to them. I think it's going to be essential to do this if we are going to continue to be a democracy. And quite frankly, I'm worried about it because democracy is us, the community, coming together to decide what we want. It shouldn't matter what PGE wants, what Intel wants. They need to be beholden to us. This is our community.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I hear that alarm, and it sounds a lot like my alarm, so I'm like, so anyway. So first and foremost, I want to say that really proud of Montana, especially being a very partisan state, right? Very conservative state, and looking at wanting to make sure that, and them being able to come to this agreement. I'm going to go back to what Representative McLean and Mark Watson were kind of talking about too. When you talk about campaign finance reform, it's really tricky because you can say, here's what we need to do, now just go about doing it. It almost becomes like this weird shell game, that when you do this, then this increases. So, such as, when you say that you're going to say no corporate, right, the worry is then that without incredibly strong sideboards and guidance and everything else, what you do is you push it to dark money. You push it to areas that you cannot track. So our OR Star, as archaic as that is, our OR Star is actually something that people can look at and really follow and see where your dollar's coming from, who's donating to you. It's a lot better than a lot of other states, right? And so the problem is that what I think our Secretary of State is doing is really making sure that balance of what we passed and then what we just did with an amendment is really going to make sure that he can work with it. And it was going to be $25 million if we did nothing. He needed $25 million to make it work effectively. And so that was the importance of taking this last vote that we took. But I know that he is deeply committed to making sure that there's further reforms. But again, it's really making sure that we put that work group together. I think Representative McLean mentioned that in 27, that group is coming together to really talk about to make sure that we don't have the negative ripple effects of just saying we pass something without making sure that we take care of that other side.
Thank you.
My car is either gone or it's gone. I don't know.
We hired this guy longer. Okay, 162-5788.
Actually, my question is only for Janeen Sollman. Based on the comments that you made in your last forum about needing data centers to upload ICE brutality and violations to the AG's website, it is a clear indication that you either lack the knowledge about the purpose of data centers or lack the morality necessary to prevent you from utilizing the ethnic cleansing that is happening to my community to push your agenda, a community that you ignored in October when I personally asked you to help us. Also, I know that you have a tendency to claim bullying. I am not bullying you, but I definitely feel like you are preying on us. So which one is true?
Yeah, please. Go ahead.
I don't mind having.
Well, I mean, I think it's my turn first, but I'm just saying it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So first and foremost, what was said there was actually a very snippet part of an answer. We acknowledged we had the mayor of Hillsborough, we had Juan Carlos, also from Metro, talking about the dangers and the issues around data centers. We talked about that. We acknowledged the fact that much of what we've already talked about, making sure the water usage and the electricity, making sure the environmental harms, right? And indicating too that what I was saying is that any part of the bill that was mentioned earlier in the other town hall, that nothing in the Jobs Act or Senate Bill 1586 had anything to do with expanding standalone data centers and expanding tax breaks for data centers. So I really made that clear in my response. I also just said that as everybody was talking about data centers, I said we hold a very small part of this responsibility in that technology for everything we are doing, from the car you are driving to your washing machine, everything, having all of these things, to the online opportunity to go on and file and ask questions or anything. That's what I was saying about as technology has turned in the United States, our reliance on that is just growing. And I want to just indicate too, that data centers are,
Let's let the candidate answer. Let's,
no. And so
please, let's let them.
To have data centers to upload ICE violations and the brutality
Yep.
to the AG
And so-
website, which I have been doing since October.
Thank you.
You're in a church, don't lie.
Thank you so much. And I really first want to just mention that data centers are a symptom of a larger problem. And that larger problem is much of what you talked about, unregulated AI. And if we don't figure out how to regulate, and that even is at the federal side of things, if we don't figure that out, we are in a world of hurt all the way through, from education to our business to healthcare and so on and so on. So I want to say that that is an indication of a problem that we need to address. And also, I do want to say that, when we didn't hear anything from Governor Kotek, because that was a bit interrupted. Yeah. 20 more seconds.
Yeah.
When we didn't hear a response regarding the ICE kidnappings off our streets, especially in Forest Grove, Cornelius, and Hillsborough, as mentioned, I sent a letter, and that letter was dated November 10th to the governor saying, please, thank you for the SNAP response, thank you for this. I made phone calls and everything, so I sent a public letter. And I asked for a response, and I asked for action to be stated, because we were hearing from Cornelius Elementary families as ICE was standing outside of the school during drop-off and pickup times in their gear, waving to families, waving to children. And so we asked, what is your response that we need help? Our law enforcement needs support to be able to react and to address this. And we need to make sure that we are addressing all the harms that were happening to communities. So.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Can I start just by acknowledging that I think when people see Tony angry, people think she needs to calm down. And I want you to know our entire community is suffering with our children being caged, our children being taken away, our children showing up pregnant in those cages. Nobody knows why. 90 people from this community were kidnapped between July and December. And I assure you that the people that went to the town hall to talk to the leaders didn't go to ask for data centers or QEM help. But now the senator says she helped with the immigration justice package. I want to take a moment to thank the people that actually did things for our people. I want to thank Nafisa. Her courage in the face of the injustice that we faced will never be forgotten. I want to thank Kipperlin and Blaine. Your alliance with us is deeply appreciated. I want to thank Tammy for fighting for us on the school board. We must expect leaders to bring real action to these issues and earn our votes. I know Evelyn and David running for Beaverton City Council are also essential in this fight. We need justice in Beaverton. The truth is, it's going to take all of us to fight for appropriate implementation of the immigration justice package. As you heard in the session before, Mr. Watson said, that's not going to happen because of the supremacy clause. We need people that feel it, like I feel it and Tony feels it, and we need people that are ready to jump into action.
Thank you.
I'm really proud. I'm proud of my colleagues. I'm proud of my colleagues that have taken action. I'm proud of every single vote that came through regarding ICE, regarding intimidation. Is that we voted, that I voted for that and sponsored some of those legislation pieces too. And so I think that it's important that it's collective as well. And there was many of us that worked on that. And I listened to Adelante Mujeres and Centro Cultural.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next question, 162-5786. 5786. 162-5787. 5787. I got 162. Does anybody have 162 on there too? Yeah. 25. No, that is close. That is close. That's very close. 162-5803. 5803. People change their minds. Okay. Shy. 162-5804. So, all right. We have a winner.
So my question is actually not about data centers. But in this particular case, I was in a meeting this morning with ODHS, where they were in a listening session trying to figure out what not to cut in healthcare. I'm a parent of a disabled child. I am the parent of a child who will die without Medicaid. And I would like to know, when this comes to the legislature, because it will come, it's already working its way through the federal government, what are your plans, what are your ideas to keep the most vulnerable members of our society, our children, from losing their health care?
Thank you. And it's Myrna, I'm almost positive.
Well, one of my 3 top priorities, sir, is healthcare for all. And what I've been saying out in the community is I'm just as worried as you are about that cliff coming. And in my educational leadership studies, we learn to center the most impacted, the most vulnerable in the community. So you can count on me to be in the legislature saying we can't let our elderly and our disabled down. They need to be the beginning of the plan. In fact, in educational leadership, we learned that when you center the most vulnerable people, it ends up serving everybody better without leaving little caveats of people that are not cared for. So I feel very confident in that kind of leadership, and I feel that you will not be let down by that.
Thank you.
Thank you. I want to mention, and thank you so much for engaging in listening to state agencies and holding them accountable to what you're hearing as well. I want to say that I personally supported creating the governance board through Senate Bill 1089, which I believe publicly financed universal health plan is the right direction for Oregon. The board's final report is actually due September 15th of this year. But it will lay out and look at the single payer option, the plan, and implementation timeline. Look, Oregonians, they know they've enshrined that affordable health care is a constitutional right, and we have an obligation to take that work seriously. I will also mention that, you know, I'm going to take this approach as we're looking. I follow the great leaders in looking at whether it's Dr. Lisa Reynolds or Winsve Campos. Those are my colleagues working in this space. I know that they'll take the same approach that I did for the education, for our Ways and Means education, is looking at talking with advocates, finding out where the impacts, finding where what we did in education is trying to make sure that we didn't look at any reductions that had direct classroom, right, dollars. So I know that they're going to look at making how do we make sure that our most vulnerable are protected, because what's going to happen is when that comes, and Donald Trump is aiming for it. He's coming for it. It's happening. we need to come to the line and take care of this. But the thing is, the problem that's going to happen is the prevention work will not happen, preventative health care, but also what's going to happen is that those folks are going to show up in our emergency rooms when they need, which that becomes more expensive to the state of Oregon. So we need to make sure that we take all of that into plan, that we look at this universal health plan, because the numbers are real. 1 in 3 Oregonians are on OHP. The federal Medicaid cuts are up to $10 billion over the next decade. They are coming at us. And the system is already failing people. They're failing people. And the case for transformation has never been stronger. So when that report comes, you can guarantee that we are all going to be looking at that, because those are Oregonians that are losing their right to health care and losing their safety net and losing their ability to stay alive, to stay healthy, and to be productive members, adults in our society. It absolutely must be addressed, and Donald Trump is coming with very big cuts for our Medicaid.
Anything else you want to add? We're kind of down to the last minute here, and you've got a bit of extra time there.
Yeah, I would love to deliver a closing statement. I'm running for senator because I believe our community deserves choices. I want to center our community in the decisions made from this Senate seat. I want to help build a worker economy where a living wage can allow us to raise our families with health, safety, and education we can rely on. It's essential that we make opportunities for people in this community to thrive, and not just fabulous for corporations to come and make big bucks. It's essential that we take keeping our Oregon beautiful and safe seriously, and we stop giving it away to people that don't care. I will focus on what the community's been telling me needs attention: our civil rights, a quality education system, an affordable and quality healthcare system with coverage for all. I will regrow trust in our government and leadership by honoring our promises, governing with integrity, and centering our most impacted in decisions. As we do this, we'll become a more unified multiracial allyship and a prosperous economy for us and the generations of Oregonians to come. Whether or not you vote for me, I'm going to be happy to represent you. I want everyone in Washington County to tell me their ideas and opinions. I will want to hear a variety of perspectives and find the best solutions for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Janeen, really quickly, do you have?
Thank you. We're at a critical moment in our democracy, for our families, for our communities. I've fought with you before, and I will keep fighting on for reproductive rights, for voting rights, for standing up to the federal overreach from the Trump administration, from protecting immigrants, on climate change and environmental protections, funding our schools, and making life affordable. I have a proven record of delivering real results, and I want to tell you that the stakes are absolutely real. The work is urgent, and I am ready to do so. This is not a moment that we send someone new to Salem to learn on the job. My opponent has shared some misinformation to win this race, and I am not about that. I am about making sure that I get to people and talk with people and let them know the facts. I have a proven record of delivering for this community. I will put that record up against any misinformation any day. The stakes are too high, as I mentioned. I'd be honored to have your vote. I appreciate your time tonight. I appreciate Indivisible for providing this opportunity, and I will stay behind for further conversations and hopefully see you on the doors, because that is where the excitement happens. 799 doors in 3 weeks that I personally have hit. So thank you.
All right, let's give a round of applause for everybody. I want to remind folks, next Wednesday, the same time, will be Washington County Commission District 4 and Washington County Commission Chair for another candidate forum.
It seems that this would be a great time to say thank you to our moderator, Dr. and our sound people and the audio people. not really knowing what they're going to get into here in our little town of Forest Grove. And also to you for coming, and also to the legislation and elections team of Indivisible Forest Grove that we organized this, and it's been fantastic to have a chance to not only listen, but to share what you think are priorities for our communities. So thank you.